I think all countries need privacy legislation. Privacy is a very important part of human rights and of being a person in society, and that needs to be protected. It needs to be protected by government, by legislation. So I wouldn't think there's a country on the planet that doesn't need privacy regulation. Since electronic privacy is an elitist issue because it only affects people who have access to the electronic world, but India has the largest English-speaking middle class in the world. India is a huge country, and it's a country that's getting an even larger middle class. And as people move out of poverty, it's important that they live in a society where their electronic privacy rights will be affected. I mean, it's a specious argument to say that just because it might not affect the poor now, it's not necessary. It's a fundamental human right and should be offered to everybody in the world. That rights of privacy are enshrined in the Declaration of Rights of Man and in the U.S. Constitution and in the European law because it's a fundamental human right. It's a right to human dignity, it's a right to self, it's liberty in the face of power, and it's a way individuals preserve who they are. If people are under surveillance, they don't have privacy, who they are as a person changes. And there's a lot written about trust in society and the cost of low-trust societies. When you live in a low-trust society, when you believe that you're being monitored, that you're not trusted, where you can't trust the government and can't trust others, you behave differently, and there's an enormous social and economic cost. The more you can instantiate these rights, the better your country will do. Full stop, period. Freedom of expression, you can only truly have freedom of expression if you allow for privacy, because some of the things people want to express are not popular views, are views the government doesn't like, are views corporations don't like. And the way you get social change, the way you get people with common interest to aggregate is by allowing them privacy. In the United States, privacy was essential for forming our government, for breaking from British rule. And it's often essential in modern-day dissident movements. So privacy, I think, is essential for freedom of speech, and vice versa. Talk of making privacy a fungible good, that you can sell your privacy. I think that's a mistake. I mean, just like in the United States, we have child labor laws that you can't trade away, you're not allowed to sell your organs, and there are things that are essentially rights that aren't economic goods that can be traded. I think in many ways privacy should be a right, because once you make it an economic good, suddenly there's a power dynamic, and those that are more powerful can take that from the less powerful. That's why a right is important. And I've seen some talk about making surveillance technology munitions, and that would affect the way it's exported. I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of surveillance technology that has legitimate business purposes, unlike a cruise missile. So I don't know what sort of legal regime it should be under, and you can make the case either way, and I don't know the answer. It's hard for individuals to protect themselves. The protection technologies are complex, they're hard to understand, they're hard to use. And I've been saying that most users are at the mercy of the companies they're trusting and the governments they're trusting. And basically there's not a lot we can do. I mean, I can say things like don't be on Facebook, but in a sense that's dumb advice, because you're on Facebook because your friends are there and that's where your socialization is. But those are sort of the things you can do. The best way to protect your privacy right now is to agitate for political change. That's going to have the most bang for your buck. We can can say things like you shouldn't work in immoral technologies, right? You shouldn't build nuclear weapons, you shouldn't build a surveillance state. But for many people, the lure of a lucrative career is greater than that. I will not pass judgment against people who are working in this industry because there are some good people trying to do good things. I think there will be more whistleblowers, there will be more people who expose what's being done, and people in that industry should recognize that things can't be as secret as they were 10 years ago.